Station. Hello, probers. You are listening to But It Was Aliens, the extraterrestrial comedy podcast where myself, Kevin the Grey, beardless, and my co-host, Granville Moonwalker, #probe an alien occurrence to determine for the safety of our listeners and select other people whether these occurrences really were aliens. Moonwalker, introduce yourself.
I am a man of constant trouble. I'm in trouble on my days.
It's a nice beard you got there, Kev.
It's growing back already.
Yep.
My dear sweet beard.
About 8 inches. Full grey hair.
Is it girthy?
Nah, it looks quite thin and wiry.
I could deal with 8 inches if it was girthy, but if it... Hold on. I could deal with possessing 8 inches.
No. Carry on that sentence as you were before. You know that's right.
But if it's thin and... whatever the hell you said, I'm not sure I can deal with that. Anywho...
What?
Have you seen any aliens upon this fine week, Monfrere?
Let me have a think. No.
No?
Possibly.
Well, I don't give a shit, because today we are travelling back in time. Back to April the 17th, 1897. 1897 was the year of the only known case in the United States history where spectral evidence was used to secure a conviction in court. Oscar Wilde was released from prison. Bram Stoker's Dracula was published. That was one of the first books I ever read. True story. But more importantly, 1897 was the year of Roswell. Before Roswell.
So one.
Yes.
Did something happen in Roswell that got it the name Roswell before the major thing that everyone knows as Roswell? So did something happen to call the town or place Roswell, and now we just know all alien
I see where you're coming from.
Roswell.
No.
Okay.
This
Spectral evidence.
Hold on. No. So...
Oscar Wilde 3!
You know Oscar Wilde.
He's wild.
He's a wild man. Actually, he was quite wild. He was doing things that are absolutely fine, but in his day and age were frowned upon.
Wild.
He was a wild man.
Sorry, I'll let you continue with your Roswell point.
Yeah, this one may have flown under the radar until after Roswell happened, at which point it came to light.
Oh, so this is...
So it happened before Roswell.
The original
and it
Roswell.
Just people didn't realise about it until after Roswell, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, so there we go. And spectral evidence is evidence from beyond the grave, in essence.
I did think that.
Yeah,
but
so
then
when I first researched this one, I did know all the details, but we've had a bit of a hold up and haven't recorded for about a month since I did the research and the full details have gone. But essentially ghost evidence, yeah. Someone was actually convicted with it.
Did they call the ghost up to the stand?
Possibly a Ouija board? Like I say, something of that nature.
I hereby call.
Did he do it? Man who did it points the glass with his finger. He did it! Oh, dear sweet Lord. The ghost has spoken.
Do you reckon they put a glass on top of the table? But if the glass moves...
It wasn't me. I will be one of the people holding the glass.
Trust me, I'm not moving it.
He's got blood all up his arm from where he killed the lady. Bloody knife in his pocket. That's from when I went hunting earlier.
I cut a jam cake. Cut into a jam donut. It's delicious.
The glass doesn't move unless my hand is on it. Anywho, before I get into it, I'm going to lay a little context for this one. Between 1896 and 1897, sightings of a cigar-shaped UFO became prevalent across the United States. These were the predecessor to what we today call UFOs, and at the time were simply called mystery or phantom airships. They were generally in the shape of what we today know as a blimp or zeppelin, and there are hundreds of reported sightings of these things. The consensus was that some genius inventor was behind them and experimenting for a corporation. Thomas Edison actually had to come out with a public statement strongly denying he was behind it, as the rumours were so persistent. Some stories are simply of sightings in the sky, including strange lights and manoeuvrability not possible in that time period. But others are more outlandish and include interactions with crews whom were naked and claimed to be from somewhere other than the Earth, sounding like Mars. These stories weren't generally taken seriously by the newspapers and were forgotten about shortly after publication. But what if one of these stories was actually true?
So, first things first.
Context laid.
The...
Let me guess which one you're going to talk about. Nudity?
The blimps.
Shit. I'm not a perv.
So the blimps or zeppelins.
Zeppelin, yeah. Basically the same
Like you said, they could have just been someone invented them and was just experimenting before
they were actually out there.
A thing. Yep. That makes absolute sense. The lights in the sky and...
Zeppelins, some of them might have been just before they're out there, but some of them moved faster and more manoeuvrable than what is actually possible today with an airship. Just keep that in mind. Your point?
There was a Zeppelin with a hologram of another Zeppelin just moving it around a lot quicker in the sky, so it made it look like it was going quick.
Holograms in 1897.
Yeah, holograms, son. Time travelers.
That's good enough for me. It's a yes, let's go home.
But now, this is where I'm a bit lost.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the nakedness. Not lost there.
That makes total sense to you.
People get naked.
Naked.
It's not weird. It's natural. But
it's weird if you're in a shopping centre.
Yeah. But they claimed... So when they claim to be somewhere other than Earth, sounding like Mars, is the place they're from sounds like Mars?
Yeah. So where are you from? Mars.
Okay.
Get it?
Because if it was a case of they spoke...
Good.
And it sounded like they were from Mars. Mm-hmm. I was about to say, what the hell does that sound like?
No. So they've made noises that they've interpreted to be the people saying they're from Mars. I'm from Mars.
I'm from Mars.
That sort of thing.
What if they couldn't just pronounce where they were actually from?
And they are from Mars.
No. They just couldn't.
I'm from Mars.
So they have a speech impediment.
Every single one of the sightings.
Every single one.
I have
Maybe
read...
it's the same person, different wig.
So I was specifically trying to find one of these cases good enough for us to do an episode on. I have literally read close to 100 different cases. They're all a couple of paragraphs long and there weren't enough content, but lots of them claim to be from somewhere sounding like Mars. That's a lot of speech impediments.
Also, Edison has come out and said it's not him.
Yeah.
I mean, do we really trust Edison?
Well, I feel like he's well respected within the science community, but the stupid general public prefer Tesla. Who do you prefer?
Tesla's a f***ing don. How dare you?
I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm just saying that people who don't understand how much Edison actually did, he invented hundreds of things people don't realise. It wasn't just like the light bulb or whatever.
No one's saying that he didn't.
But because there's been a few films out that suggested that Tesla had a way to give free energy, people have latched onto that.
No, I just think...
But yeah, I absolutely agree. Tesla was a don.
Is a don.
Just
simply because he's like the mad scientist type.
Experimenting with energy waves, creating earthquakes.
So, is it possible that he was tampering around with something like that? So some large company had gone to the competition rather than Edison. Because... maybe Tesla was more willing to try the outlandish
blimp
in the name of science.
Who knows? Who knows?
I mean, he has a car named after him. I want one.
I would love a Tesla. Yeah, maybe we should start like a Kickstarter. Well, I don't know, what would we do to benefit the public with a Kickstarter? Maybe like a GoFundMe page, just so we can rock around town in Teslas.
We could pick
and
people up.
install charging stations, so we didn't actually run out of battery because there ain't much in England.
We could pick people up and take them to their destination
So Uber.
in a Tesla.
I'm sure there's probably an Uber driver somewhere with a Tesla because
There
it'd be quite
probably
cost
is.
effective once you got one.
But I mean, how much fun would he be compared to us? And we do ours within a 2-minute radius.
Yeah. 2 minutes.
Yeah. I'm not driving you any further than that, but I really want a Tesla.
You're not going to get very far in 2 minutes, even in a Tesla.
Then they won't need a lift. And I just get to drive the Tesla.
I'm not sure this is going to get us on Dragon's Den.
I really want a Tesla.
Yeah, generally I'd love one too. But the cigar sightings culminated with the occurrences of April the 17th, 1897. At 6 a.m, a UFO was seen in the skies and hurtled towards the ground, crashing. The crash decimated a windmill on Judge J.S. Proctor's property. The wreckage was inspected and seemed to be a mixture of aluminium and silver. Though, remember, this was 1897 and the technology didn't exist to scientifically analyse the wreckage. At least, not publicly. What was confirmed was that on the metal there were strange symbols and figures not unlike hieroglyphics. Several tons of wreckage from the crash site was dumped into a well near the windmill, but that's not the only place wreckage was dumped. Any thoughts before we continue, good sir?
I do. The space... Well, I say spaceship.
Yeah.
The UFO that crashed.
Indeed.
Why is it that whenever there is a crash...
Tell me why.
And any metal or anything is salvaged, why is it always an Earth-type metal? Like...
Well, I don't
It's
think I said it
aluminium.
was. I said it appeared to be. But in our universe, we have the same elements. So chances are, if elements are suitable to create things with, then even really advanced things may use the same basic elements. They're all going to consist of like carbon, aren't they, and whatnot.
Do we know that on other planets for definite?
We know it in our universe that our universe is made of the same elements, yeah. Periodic table, son.
I'm not convinced. I'm convinced that if a spaceship was created on another planet, it's going to have some form of... I'm going to say it now. I'm going to say element. Because I was about to say alloy.
Yeah.
Some form of element that
Now-
is unlike anything that we have seen on Earth.
Well, not necessarily. If we could stabilise, like, Bob Lazar's element, for example, who's to say that wouldn't look like aluminium?
Orichalcum.
It's not orichalcum.
Yes, it is.
We had this discussion last time.
What is it then?
I'm going to have to Google it to remind myself.
He's frantically typing away to find out that it is orichalcum.
It's Moscovium, and that's what I was trying to think of that I couldn't remember. That's generally what it is. Element 115 is Moscovium.
What?
Element 115, synthesised in Russia, hence the name. True. Genuine.
Well, I'm not going to say I was wrong, because I clearly wasn't. What is orichalcum?
I don't know.
You have a computer in front of you in your...
So do you, son. I'm trying not to get too many clicks in here whilst I satisfy your brain twinges.
Keep people entertained while I search orichalcum.
Oh, ah, Ewa, hua, hua. Snip-bip-dip-bip. You there?
I am. A valuable yellow metal known to the ancient Greeks and Romans, now sometimes interpreted as referring to a natural alloy of gold and copper.
So it's an alloy.
Sometimes
it's not
treated as a mythical substance.
Where did you... Does that come from a previous probe you've done?
No.
You know about some ancient material.
Why is orichalcum in my head?
You've obviously picked it up from somewhere, haven't you?
Yeah, but I have no idea where.
But yeah, shall we continue?
Enough of the metal science.
Any other thoughts before I move on?
The judge's house.
Yeah.
Was it a small house? Was the windmill like one of those tiny little ones that was on the corner of the house? So it literally
Fairly
someone
decent-sized, typical windmill, I believe.
threw an aluminium can and it hit the.
It wasn't one of those
windmill.
seaside windmills, no.
Oh, you saw where I was going.
Right. So I actually have an illustration of the crash. Obviously, this was 1897, so there aren't any videos. Ergo, we are using the technology of the day. Please describe for our listeners my definitive evidence in front of your eyes.
Before I scroll, does the picture that you want to show me of the wreck, is it of the wreckage?
It's not of a penis.
Is it of the wreckage?
Yeah.
Does it show the hieroglyphics or symbols on it?
Hard to say. You can see some lines. You're going to see it. Why don't you look?
Because I was about to say, if this has a swastika on it, I'm not going to be impressed.
It doesn't have a swastika on it. But in a couple of weeks, I've got one coming up where I might have to change it now. Although, how can I change it? Because it's based on a true story, obviously. I might have to change the order of the evidence.
I was just wondering about it. Sorry, I'm silent. I'm just looking at this picture. It's clearly just like a rocket that has gone through.
So it looks pretty solid for a blimp, doesn't it? And you can see like pieces of metal. It's not like a rubbery material. It looks like a shell of a rocket.
Like
You're right.
A rocket that has been shot from
And there's a smoke trail.
a plane or something, yeah. There is some weird type of writing on it, but it looks like a back to front E.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at that the other way, it could just be interpreted as a D and an E.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And can you see a windmill?
The destroyed windmill, yeah.
Yeah, so you can see the foundations of it, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So, definitive evidence.
So
Sir?
considering you can see that in this picture, if this is how it went down,
Yeah, it is.
the rocket is whole
But it's not quite whole.
until point of impact.
Yeah.
But then once it hits the floor, does it explode into pieces, or does it hit and kind of just drag into the floor?
Bit of both.
Because I was going to say, are the pieces of aluminium that they find actually just like parts of the windmill?
I think the windmill was actually wooden.
Yeah, but the blades,
Or wooden.
wooden windmill blades?
Have you ever played The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time?
I was about to say, if you do not have that song keyed up to play, I'm going to be very disappointed. That was quite possibly my favourite song in
Agreed.
Ocarina of Time.
Quite possibly my favourite song in a computer game. Actually, both my favourite songs in computer games, Gerudo Valley.
Yes,
also...
that was number 2. That was number 2.
I really want to contact Nintendo and get the rights to use their original recordings. I might
Really
try
wanna play.
to, you know how I've been messing around with making background music?
Gonna
I
attempt
might
them.
try and play the Song of Storms and put it on the background to this.
I just want to play.
Ocarina of Time. I want to create.
I might see if it's on if I can get it on the Switch. Great.
So, the newspaper spoke to witnesses, including a member of the army. Army officer T.J. Weems reported... Such a weem. Reported that a pilot was found inside. Yes, we have a body.
Whoa!
Oh yeah. The pilot was said to be pretty mangled, but was said clearly to be not of this world. The pilot did not survive and was buried in the Aurora cemetery with Christian rites. As part of this burial, a stone marker was used.
Why is it that we all... I say we. Why is it that in times like this, things or people or anything is buried with Christian beliefs?
Joe, I've got this like scenario in my head that just really tickles me. This alien is like flown up, or he's floating thinking he's going to his heaven, and then he takes a sharp left turn. He ends up at the gates of heaven, our heaven, and he's like, where the f am I? God pops up like,
Have you lived a good life?
where the guy? Where the is Bruce? Lord Bruce, man! He can't get away because he's been buried with Christian rites, so he's done enough to enter heaven. So you've got all these, you've got like Jesus, Moses, Obama, all these wonderful people going around in heaven, and then one alien all by himself.
That is my...
Hey, where's Jimmy guy?
Like, they bury him with these Christian rites. What if that then denies them their entry to their own heaven?
Well, it would, wouldn't it? That's the idea behind it. You need to have your Christian rights in order to enter heaven. So they've got all the humans in heaven and one alien. It just tickles me. I love that idea.
Also, what actually depict... Like, we don't have a picture of the body. So how... Like, what separates this body from a human body for him to know that it's not of this world?
If you saw a human lying down on the floor, next to it, you saw a kangaroo lying down on the floor, would you be aware that one of them wasn't human?
Yeah.
That may be the best argument I've ever made.
But then how would you know it's a pilot?
Because he came out of a bloody ship.
If you put a kangaroo in a rocket and fired it off,
Yep.
and then it crash landed,
Yep.
would you think that that was the pilot, or
Yeah.
that someone had just stuck a kangaroo in a rocket and fired it off?
No, that's a pilot. It might not have been a good pilot.
Don't give me
but
that.
if you're...
Don't give me that nonsense.
As soon as you go in the cockpit of an aeroplane, you're a pilot.
I smell bullshit.
Genuinely, I have flown a glider before, so I am officially a pilot. I might start signing that off as my name. Pilot Kevin the Grey. Or captain. I can be a captain. Yes! I'm a captain.
I'm going to come in here one day.
Captain Probe.
I'm going to clock you round the head.
Still be a captain.
I am the captain now.
I am the captain now. An alien with Christian rights. So in 1973, the stone marker was found and had a flying saucer or cigar ship on it. A metal detector showed a quantity of foreign material was buried in this site, but the Cemetery Association would not give permission to exhume the grave. Several years later, investigators returned, whereby it was discovered that the headstone marker had been removed, as had whatever metallic materials had previously lay in the grave. All that was left was a 3-inch pipe in the ground. They removed the evidence. This investigation is documented. It happened. Fortunately, I do have a photo of the grave marker for you to ogle. Explain what you see?
It just looks like a piece of rock where someone has got...
Well, it's clearly a headstone, let's be honest.
Well, it doesn't look like a headstone. I know it is one.
Yeah, I zoomed in so you could actually see the detail on it rather than showing all the headstones around it.
Oh, so that's not its actual size.
Well, yeah.
But it looks tiny.
It is. It's little, yeah.
So, I was correct in saying it just looks like a rock.
It's a big rock. Small headstone, very big rock.
Right. It looks like a rock where someone has got another tool or instrument, and it looks like they've
Or a
carved...
tool or instrument.
I am the captain now. And they've carved a cigar-shaped UFO. I wouldn't say it's a UFO.
It's an attempt, isn't it?
Yeah.
It clearly is an attempt.
They've carved a cigar-shaped object and put 3 precise-looking holes into it. I wouldn't say holes. Like, if you've ever used a punch, not one of those. Like, for a garage, you've got a hammer, knock the punch in, you get that little indentation. That's what it looks like. So, yeah, a piece of rock with a cigar-shaped diagram, picture,
Yeah.
carved in.
Mm-hmm.
Looks a tiny bit like a turd with 3 holes.
Okay. So what's your thoughts on the evidence being removed? Anything to comment on, or are you happy with it so far?
So, maybe there was evidence there, or maybe they just buried something important there.
Then where did it go?
Well, they removed it because someone came sniffing around. Like, if it was
Like 100 years later.
they might have removed it like the following week. We don't know when they removed it. They just know that it was removed. If you buried something important in the ground and someone was like, "Oh, can we dig this place up?" Be like, "No," and then you just come back and remove what you buried the next day. If
It was there when it was buried. It was there in the 70s. Then it was gone a few years later.
I'm still sticking by my story. They removed it because people came sniffing around. It may not have been an alien body or anything like that. May have just been their way of filing things away because they didn't have computers. It's really not that last one. They've definitely removed something there.
So today, a plaque mentions this grave, though the grave itself is unidentified. So the evidence is gone, right? Wrong!
Wait. Sorry.
You always catch me when I'm about to go off on one. That's not going to be a surprise.
How do they know that they came to the exact same spot?
Because it was documented in the 70s, but then all the evidence was gone. Like a few years later when they went back to double check it.
Ah, okay. The exact same spot.
So
They weren't one grave over.
so the evidence is gone, right?
Okay, so I'll let you.
Wrong! Remember earlier I mentioned that the crash was on a property belonging to a judge.
Sorry, hold on. I am the captain now.
Go on, then take over the story. Don't you frickin' dare.
You may continue.
You're not in charge. I'm the host this week.
And I am the captain.
I am the captain. You ever flown a plane or other ship typed invention?
I've sailed a boat. I am the
I've
captain.
sailed a boat and I've flown.
I'm on a boat, motherfucker.
So remember earlier I mentioned the crash was on the property belonging to the judge.
You did.
Judge Proctor sold up and a new owner, Mr. Brawley Oates, cleared out the well, intending to use it as a water source. He developed a profound case of arthritis, possibly related to contaminated water at the site. He therefore sealed up the well with a concrete slab and put a building on top.
Did he just have arthritis?
He didn't,
I mean,
then he did.
how old is he? I mean, you can get arthritis at any age, really.
Yeah.
But in the likelihood that he was just going to get arthritis anyway, and, I mean, can contaminated water cause arthritis?
I have no idea. I was going to look into it, but then I thought it'd be better to leave it to our imaginations.
I don't think it could.
It might be able to.
If it does, then... So if you imagine if contaminated water is the only way to get arthritis, there's a lot of people in the world drinking contaminated water.
Definitely didn't say it was the only way. I'm just saying.
If it's a surefire way to get arthritis, there's a lot of people drinking contaminated
I
water
just
right now.
didn't want to take it off the table.
I'm not a doctor, but I'm taking it off the table.
Yeah. You're not a captain either.
I am
So,
the captain. He just had arthritis.
if you'd like to read the first report of this yourself, you can obtain a copy of the Dallas Morning News, 19th of April, 1897, and check out page 5. Woo!
Is that their page 3?
No. The case has also been investigated several times. In 1973, the non-profit organisation, the Mutual UFO Network, also known as MUFON, probed. In 1988, it was probed by KDFW television station. It was probed by the UFO Files in 2005. And in 2008, it was probed by UFO hunters. MUFON actually found new eyewitnesses, including a girl named Mary Evans, who was adamant that her parents went to the crash site and saw the body. Another witness had seen a ship trailing what appeared to be smoke in the sky just before crashing around Aurora.
A ship, as in...
Of the space variety.
Sorry, that last line literally just threw me. And I imagined a boat just following it. Like out of nowhere. All this talk of captains and boats.
I was going to say, you've become fixated upon captains, haven't you? Captain Birdseye over there. You only get your fish fingers.
Fish finger sandwich.
No, thank you.
So it's been probed by quite a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, how legit are KDFW?
Probably quite legit.
How legit are UFO files and the UFO hunters?
UFO files are almost as legit as the UFO hunters.
Not that legit.
The UFO hunters are like us on TV.
No, the only one I can get behind is MUFON. Simply because you wouldn't deliberately give yourself such a shit name, would you?
Move on.
Move on. Move on. Move on, sir.
So as part of the UFO hunters' investigation, Brawley Oates' grandson had inherited the property on which the crash took place and allowed the property to be analysed. Footings were found indicating that a windmill was indeed once on the site. Meanwhile, the grandson allowed the well to be unsealed. The water in the well tested positive for unusually large amounts of aluminium. The grandson also let the hunters take some metal that had been left on the site. This unusual metal was aluminium mixed with an unknown element. A sure sign of alien activity is an unknown element being involved. UFO hunters wanted to probe the cemetery, but the Cemetery Association continued to refuse exhumation. Radar tests were completed on the unmarked grave, however, but they could not determine what type of remains were in the grave, if any had been left at all. Any thoughts on the events at hand, sir?
Well, we knew that there was a windmill there, so...
Well,
footings
did we
found
though?
that indicated it. We already knew it was there.
Remember that?
The large amounts of aluminium found in the water.
With an unknown element, yes.
Before the unknown element.
With?
I mean, if something crashed and some of it had fallen into the well and it's been sat there for a long time, understandably it's going to have large amounts of aluminium in it, in the water itself. This unknown element, though, is it possible that... Well, no, it's not.
You sound like the guy on Ancient Aliens. Is such a thing even possible? Yes, it is.
Alien! I was thinking, is it just something that we haven't, found yet? Haven't discovered?
Haven't worked out how to stabilise, perhaps?
What I was going to say is the fact that the ship was flown with it. Stabilisation was the next course of action. I was going to say the ship crashed. Is it because they hadn't learned to stabilise the other element that was in the ship? Was it that
then they done well to make it as far as they did, didn't they?
To crash? Because I was going to say, is it part of the metal itself, or was it part of the fuel which helped to fire the rocket?
It's a fine question. I've got no idea.
If it's part of the metal, then I'm not sure, unless it changes state while mixing with other elements in the sky, then therefore changing the density of the metal itself, causing different fluctuations in how it flies, therefore causing it to crash. That's the only way I can think of in terms of if it was in the metal. If it was used as the accelerant, then anything could happen. It's pretty mental.
So there's a story out there that this whole incident is a hoax.
I have one more question.
Get him out quicker!
Well, it takes a little while for my brain to...
You hit yourself on the head.
Exactly. My brain couldn't keep up with what my body wanted to do. These people that got the stuff out of the well, did they get arthritis?
They may have, actually. So, story out there that this whole thing is a hoax. An old resident claimed that the journalist told her it wasn't real and that Judge Proctor never even operated a windmill on the property. This hoax theory was disproven by our pals over at UFO Hunters who, like I said, found the base of the old tower by the well, as well as witnesses and some tough-to-explain evidence.
So, the stuff about the well being there, again...
People tried to use it as an excuse to say it wasn't real. Someone literally said it's a hoax, there was never a windmill there. We know for a fact there was.
There was a windmill there.
Fact. So why are they trying to say there wasn't?
I was about to say, who is it that's trying to say it wasn't there and that it was a hoax?
An old resident who's been placed there by the government. That's a theory, not a fact.
Pay them off, haven't they?
Indeed.
Still trying to wrap my head around why. Well, yeah, like you said, the government planted them there.
Okay, so whilst you're wrapping your head around it, I'm going to look to science and other explanations.
Go.
We've ruled out the hoax explanation, but it could just be coincidence. That well could have had an unknown element mixed in with aluminium down there just by chance. We know that certain members of the UFO community can be a little intense or hardcore. The grave marker in a cemetery, or even the grave itself, could have been stolen by a fanatic rather than covered up. Airships were in development around the late 1800s. They weren't particularly easy to handle, and you'd expect the undercarriage to at least be identifiable, even in wreckage, but it's not impossible. But I cannot explain how this wreckage would potentially contain an unknown element. Can you think of any other explanations to rule out aliens?
Scientists trying new things.
Creating unknown elements in the 1800s that are still unknown today. Damn.
Smart scientist.
That's a real smart scientist.
Maybe it was caused by accident.
Right.
But this whole thing a hoax? I don't think it's a hoax. I think something happened. Why would you rob a grave marker? You said people are fanatics.
Yeah.
So, do you think they stole it to say that we have it?
Possibly,
Or to sell it?
To sell it to an even more fanatic UFO enthusiast.
Because if that's the case, we need to look on eBay.
So there we have it. The Aurora Texas Forgotten Crash. An unidentified airship was seen in the sky. It crashed into a windmill. The mangled body of a pilot was found, alongside a strange metal covered in strange symbols. The alien was buried with Christian rites. He's in heaven now, and there's a bunch of humans and then one random alien wandering around like, how'd I get here? The evidence was subsequently mostly removed. People tried to say it as a hoax. That theory was disproven. Are you saying that it was aliens?
Do you think that the pilot was maybe just a midget?
Someone sent a midget up in an airship.
Might have done. Test like a... Sounds really bad. Test dummy. Because at no point... Hold on. Do we know how big this ship was?
You saw the picture, remember?
That's someone's drawing.
Based on the story of how big it was.
They could have drawn it bigger than what it was.
They could have. They also could have drawn it smaller than what it was. So it was roughly that size. I don't have exact measurements.
You could have literally just said, no, I don't have exact measurements.
Well, I did say that it crashed and blew up into pieces.
I was simply
and
asking.
Some pieces were buried with the alien for some reason.
Could ascertain as to the size of the person that could fit into it.
Then ascertain away, mother trucker.
It's a midget.
A little person.
Smaller than normal person. So yeah, the mangled body could have just been that of someone that wasn't the normal size of a human. So for example, could have been 4 foot something. Could have been 7 foot something.
Could have been.
You never know.
Could have had 4 arms.
You just said it wasn't human.
Said it clearly wasn't human.
What if there was actually 2 pilots in the heat?
It got mangled into one. Do you know what? In all the research I've done for this one, that theory never occurred to me.
Like that, the impact of that crash.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, that's grotty. Thanks for that.
I'm not gonna lie, it's simply one of the.
The whole time we've been discussing it, I just had the Zelda Song of Storms going around in my head until you said that.
What song's there now?
Just like a slow violin playing, a slow piano.
I mean, Christian rites as well.
That's my favourite bit of this one.
What?
Hey, God! What am I doing here? Why am I talking your language?
So, metal detected in the grave.
Yeah.
That
disappeared.
Could simply be... Well, what was detected could simply just be the coffin.
Or someone could have got wind of that and gone on and dug it up. Found coins from long ago.
Ever thought it was just a dodgy metal detector?
No.
Could have been a dodgy metal detector?
No.
The way you're saying no just makes it more and more sound like it's a dodgy metal detector.
But then we had we had the story, like from years ago,
A story.
the story of the crash and a strange metal being found.
Story.
Hundreds of years later,
A tale, if you would.
based on fact,
A wives'
true story.
tale.
then years later they actually dig up this well and they find the metal there. What else would the metal have been there? Like, what are the chances of loads of scraps from...
I don't believe the blades of the windmill are wooden. I think they're going to be metal. I think they're going to be aluminium.
I don't know that metal was a commonly used building product in 1897. Windmills used to be wooden.
But you don't know if it was.
Well,
And you can't
I'm
say
very
that it
sure that
wasn't.
this one was, because they found the wooden footings.
Doesn't mean that the blades were wooden.
Again, I'm quite sure, but okay. I'll let you have that one just to see where your little comment is going.
Just the fact that the metal they found in the well could have been...
So why was it
Blades.
scraps from a crash?
Something could have crashed in. I'm just saying the aluminium found in could have been the blades.
Okay, but
of-
something still hit
Yeah.
So what hit it then? Asteroid? Punk?
The ship that the little mangled man
Oh,
were
so
in.
you're still saying it's a ship? Okay, I can get on board with this. Well, tell me more.
Where did you think I was going?
I thought you were going to say that the windmill just fell down in a storm.
Strong gust of wind. The windmill couldn't handle.
And then they tried to sweep it under the rug because storms aren't real.
No.
God, what am I doing here?
So this is my final,
All right, Springer.
Jerry.
this is my final thought. A little kid turned up dressed in green with a wooden sword and shield. He had an ocarina. He pulled it out and he played the Song of Storms. It was too intense for the windmill, broke the windmill, and that's what happened.
Okay, I'm happy to say it was Zelda.
Well, would have been Link. To be
Well,
fair.
yeah, but you get the point.
I did. No, I...
Whoa! Hasty decision. Think about this.
I'm not saying it was aliens. But it was definitely something weird. Had you on a knife edge here.
I didn't think you were going to go that far, to be honest.
No, I think something crashed into it. Maybe just like a test rocket. They were testing something near, like, military, or some scientists were testing something that happened to hit the windmill. Like you said, they said the body was unidentifiable, or it was definitely non-human. Unfortunately, if there was more than one pilot in there and that impact kind of crushed them, we don't know how close they were sitting. Plus the fire of the crash itself may have burnt and mangled them in ways that are pretty grim.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, I think something hit the windmill. There are some odd things, but it's not aliens.
So I have probed this case thoroughly. And to be honest, I've gone back and forth on this one a lot. I don't have definitive evidence to say that it wasn't aliens, and it does make me suspicious how it was swept under the rug for so long, but equally, evidence has gone missing. I'm not saying that it was aliens, but something weird happened. It was weird. That's what it was. What I think may have happened, obviously airships are like a rubbery-like material. I don't think it was necessarily an airship. I think it was more like a Zeppelin with a metal shell, because that picture, obviously, it looks like a metal shell, wasn't it? It wasn't just like a frame. So yeah, I think there was a metal interior with the airship perhaps around it,
But I think-
and someone was experimenting on a Zeppelin and they crashed into a wooden windmill.
But if we're judging by the size of the picture, or the object in the picture,
Yeah.
wouldn't you think a Zeppelin would be way bigger than a house?
No, not necessarily.
No?
They come in all shapes and sizes. You can get like little ones, you can get hot air balloons.
A little baby Zeppelins.
Technically, yeah.
Baby Zepp.
Well, technically that's a baby airship, isn't it?
True.
But even so, yeah. And obviously these sorts of things were being experimented upon in this time period. So yeah, I think it was probably some type of Zeppelin. I do think that the crash happened, but not enough to say it was aliens. And your theory on the two bodies becoming one is compelling. I thought it was probably just because obviously Zeppelins fly via a lot of heat. That could have mangled the body beyond recognition. Or, yeah, that's probably the most likely thing. Yeah, so I'm not saying that it was aliens. You're not saying it was aliens. We're not saying that it was aliens. Aliens are probably saying that it was aliens, but they're not here to tell us. So there we have it.
You've got a group of aliens out there. Several are just saying, it's not us. No one wants to claim this one.
It's not us. It's not us, guys. Why am I heavy?
I can't wait. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. I can wait until I pass away. But when I pass away, I'm looking forward to meeting that one guy walking around in heaven that's not human.
Hey! What up? I've come to accept it here.
Just turn around and go, hey!
I knew you were an alien.
I listened to your podcast, guy. You said I was a human.
It's the weirdest voice.
I could modify my voice in the post, but I think I might leave it.
Leave it.
Right, there we have it. Another show is ready to kick around the dusty cellar of extraterrestrial towers. I've been your host for the day, Kevin the Grey. He's continuing to be Granville Moonwalker. Thank you so much for listening to But It Was Aliens, as we continue to grow the show and save humanity. Probing the planet and the universe is turning out to be a lot of work, but honestly, we are having a ball doing it. You know how in the film Men in Black, the job is literally their lives? Will Smith doesn't have time for anything else. That is literally what it's like doing this. I don't remember my last meal.
I haven't cooked in 8 days.
I haven't wiped my ass in 3 weeks.
Haven't shaved my back in 6 months.
You shave your back?
Yeah, it gets quite hairy.
Sasquatch trucker. What are we doing again?
Comes in handy in the winter.
I can't remember my left from right.
What's left? What's right?
What's wrong?
What's up?
Where's up?
Where's down?
Who? Who are you?
Are you not me?
What's a mirror?
All I can remember is this one true fact. I am decapitated now.
Do 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 do. No, the kid. But genuinely, yeah, each episode, must take us about minimum 6 hours of research, and then putting all the research together, making it our own, recording, then
Definitely.
post. It's like a job. It's a lot of work.
Whilst working more than full time.
But yeah, regardless, it is a ball. Some of the things I've come across. I'm still tickled by the sex painter.
I'm still tickled by nunchucks.
Nunchucks. He didn't even... After we did that episode, I went back and watched some interviews with him, and yeah, cracking guy. He thought nunchucks were actually called numchucks.
And don't forget our good friend, Ricardo.
Oh, now I'm going to have to go and find the bloody sound file to put in again.
Should already have it saved.
I've got so many saved, it takes ages to search through them. But yeah, thank you guys. If you'd like to probe us, you can tweet us at But It Was Aliens. You can see us on Instagram at But It Was Aliens Podcast. If you have some feedback or a story that must be probed, you can email us at butitwasaliens@gmail.com. Please, if you have time and enjoy what we do, then leave us a 5-star review on your podcast app. I feel like I've done this backwards today, but that's okay, because if in doubt, #probe.
Just a little sidebar. There are gonna be times where we sound a little bit off kilter.
Because we're sober.
Very. And we're also still learning. So,
Probe. He's learning, I'm teaching.
I am the captain.
Too late. You're a f***er.
No.
Why am I still talking into the mic? You're a f***er.
Just in case. You tricked me.
I did.